It's been a long time, but we are back with another Who is the Better Investment video. This one is a really tough one. We have Sunday on one side and Fugue on the other side. Everyone keeps saying, if you have money, just pull for both, but reality is limited resources are very limited, and here I am going to help you make a choice of which one is better to pull in version 2.7. Now with all of these videos, I will be super unbiased as with all of them, and I'll only give you my biased opinion right at the end for any of you who care about that. But let's kick things off with current value. If you are paying premium resources in the game, you want to know what exactly are you getting for these characters right now for your account. Now, the best way I think to describe it is looking at the overall landscape of all 8 types of teams in Honkai Star Rail. Some will argue there's more, but in the current game state, there's mainly 8 types every character would fall under. Over here, I have nicely Sunday with a nice box of gold or yellow, and over here I have Fugue with, of course, the red borders. For any of you colorblind, don't worry, I'll narrate it out as well, so it's much easier to focus on. And I think when we see the current landscape right here, it's very clear to see where Fugue outperforms and versus Sunday, and that is really in the current team competitions that she fulfills. If you look at this, Fugue feels very well with break teams as well as debuff-oriented teams because she applies a lot of debuffs at the same time, she also buffs a lot of break. And don't worry if you don't really know their kits, as we go on, I'll give you the critical information that you need. Just enough information to get you started, don't need to bore you with like all the technical terms, right? Only once everything has been finalized, we'll have more of that on the channel as well. Break debuff, which is very, very meta right now. We have break teams, even Akirion teams are also debuff oriented. Sunday, on the other hand, fulfills more of a fast and often team composition right now in the game state, which involves energy buffing. He does buff energy, and he also pushes characters up, like Bronya gives good amounts of crit damage buffing as well. In the current game state, outside of a certain characters who can use like his summon buff and stuff, he is mostly used for energy buffing and fast and often. Of course, back to the overall screen, the characters that they work very well with right now is, of course, for Sunday himself, is characters like Jingyuan. If you are a Jingyuan main in 1.1 or you pull him or a rerun, you're a super fan, this is the time to rejoice. Very, very strong. He's probably going to get a massive buff together with Sunday, because one of the biggest downsides of Jingyuan is his Lightning Lord, once he reaches 10 stacks, it didn't automatically act, and his Lightning Lord is like so slow nowadays. Sunday just pushes everything up, the summon immediately acts together with Jingyuan, so that is a very fantastic, huge, massive buff to Jingyuan. So any of you mains out there pulling for him, this is a very, very solid choice. Is it worth it picking up? We'll talk about it for Jingyuan on another video. This video I specifically want to talk more about Sunday and Fugue for any of you who are making the choice, the tough choice between both of them. Other than that, he also pushes basically any other summon unit like Topaz and Nambi immediately to take action, and at the same time, who else is the other summon unit in the game? If you have Abundance character, for example like Lingsha, Bunny Rabbit now can immediately take action, but you don't really hyper carry these two characters. So really in the current game state, you're focused more on Jingyuan, and I honestly would have to give this category as a win to Fugue by far, like way far. Fugue definitely is much more relevant right now in the current game state, because as you can see, Sunday teams outside of a few of them, not really too relevant right now. But Fugue teams on the other hand, and let's touch on that, why is she so much better? Any team composition that uses Harmony MC Runmei, Fugue definitely outperforms. So for example, if you are a Firefly main, you are a Rapper main, you are rejoicing. So Rapper, you have characters like Firefly, you even have characters like Boot Hill. All of them, fantastic units. Anyone that loves break, wants to do some sort of break is excellent. But that's not all. A lot of us forget that this icon here, she is a Nihility character as well, and who works very well with Nihility. And surprise, surprise, I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of people might actually be considering and even running, if you are E0 Akirion, which probably quite a lot of free-to-play players are, a team of Akirion, a team of Fugue, if you don't have Jiao Qiu, or even if you do have Jiao Qiu, you can run both of them together with Akirion, and then Akirion has some sort of super break, but at the same time you increase the utility of damage from Fugue herself, as well as Jiao Qiu. Now your team can do more super break damage. So yeah, super break Akirion team composition in a sense is going to be very, very interesting to consider, especially those of you who have her at E0 S1, or if you have E2, you don't have Jiao Qiu. Very, very interesting because she is a Nihility, and you can tap on that for a character like Akirion. This is definitely going to be very interesting, and we'll expand more on this in future videos, but that's a team composition that we can use right now in the game state. So it's very clear, if you are a person that's playing in the present, you're looking to progress further, you really like break already, Fugue outperforms very significantly to Sunday. And the catch is, current game state, where they perform is one thing, but we also need to look at their alternatives, because if you already have like 50 different Nike, Adidas shoes or whatever not, you probably might not need another one, right? You can save that money and then use your current shoes that you're wearing and then save up for a future character or pick up the other one. Between these two characters, the honest truth is there are almost zero alternatives for Sunday if you're talking about buffing summon characters. The utility of summon characters now is very low because these two sections here, we are talking about current. We'll talk about future, projection, and how you stonks going up kind of thing in a little bit. But in the current game state, you aren't really going to find a ton of tremendous use for summons. But truth is, there are not much alternatives to summon buffers in the game. He is first and he is best in class, and that's something worth mentioning in the alternatives category. On the other hand, if you're looking for action buffer, someone that pushes up, someone that gives you a crit damage, there are quite a few options. You have Bronya, you have Sparkle. These characters are very, very strong. One is already going to come free to you with the 2.7 tickets, and Sparkle also give a lot of skill points. So it's not as if his kit is very, very fantastically unique in a sense where he buffs and pushes teammates. So that's one thing to note. He does buff energy as well, which is very similar to the likes of Ho Ho, as well as the likes of Tingyun 4-star. So it's funny how they're both over here. But this is one angle also that is alternatives if you're looking for energy. But the truth is, he's very nicely a very nice package of all-in-one, and that makes him very, very attractive for a longer term. But we'll touch on future value in a bit. Let's move on to the flip side of things to talk about Fugue over here. Now, Fugue is coming at an excellent time, right? We are all having Harmony MC with potentially the move over to Remembrance MC. And I'll talk about that later on as well for any of us who are considering. Her main competition really is two characters. If it's Runmei, if it's Harmony MC, which is the two main supports right now in the game for break team competitions. And if you do not have one or the other, she's very, very attractive. You can play like Harmony MC together with Fugue, together with like whatever break DPS if you don't have Runmei, and perhaps you are transiting your Harmony MC over to another character. It's still very, very good. So it's not really a competing thing, because at the end of the day, most of us are running single break DPS. There are other options like running double break DPS and stuff, but right now in the game, that's not like super popular. Most people are still like running one DPS, and that makes her have very little alternatives, because some people do a little bit, but at the end of the day, Harmony MC is a commodity, and that commodity might be changed over to Remembrance in the near term. So alternatives category, I would have to give it, in terms of utility, uniqueness in a kit, I probably think Sunday tops out in terms of very, very few alternatives, there being like no buffers for summons. But Fugue doesn't fall behind because there are very, very few alternatives right now. And in fact, it's non-competitive just because we only have one other Runmei limited and Harmony MC can switch over. But I'll still give this category to Sunday. So we are at 1-for-1 now, which is interesting, but where it starts to shine, and I think some of you watching this video, you are also knowing Sunday's true value is in the future and not in the present. And you will see this in the next two categories. Very, very confidently, you will see a huge shift. So future value. It was mentioned in the live stream of 2.7 that 3.0, any path of Remembrance character will have a summon. Whether it's Aglia, whether it is Remembrance MC themselves, they will have a summon, and they use the specific words that will be considered as a summon in the live stream. So Sunday benefits basically anyone from Path of Remembrance, an entire path that he skills off with. On top of that, there are other characters that also have summons that are not part of the Path of Remembrance, which I think is his true key value. Playing Sunday will be hedging into the future meta that is about to come, whereas Fugue is more of like you're solidifying your present roster and when Harmony MC eventually makes a shift. So back to the teams video over here, all team types. The important one is this box that I left here, and this is really the thing that is going to come up. Are you a believer, a strong believer and strong interest in summon meta? Now this is a personal preference, that's why I'm leaving it as a logical comparison. Some people don't play necromancers in games when you can choose. Some people just prefer playing like knights, mages, archers and stuff. Not many people like the summon kind of playstyle, and even if it's meta, doesn't mean everyone has to go into break, doesn't mean everyone have to go into summon, but this is possibly an entire path on its own, and if you're looking to buff that path, Sunday is probably going to be really attractive, and this is where he starts to even it out in the future. When we have a landscape like this, it does look quite interesting because you are now practically, if you look at numbers here, 2 for 2, 2 versus 2 in terms of the summon and fast and often category that Sunday fulfills, and he plays very nicely into 3.x. whole entire remembrance kind of meta with all the remembrance characters come out, and we are definitely going to have more characters. So Sunday, huge W, but we kind of already know that instinctively. The bigger question that a lot of us will have is Fugue versus Sunday for future value. Is she actually going to stand the test of time? Is she in demand, or is she just a Harmony MC replacement? Now, in my honest opinion, what makes her super strong is her ability to let her teammates super break. So regardless of what character you're playing with, now they can super break. You less rely on a character like Harmony MC. She pretty much is multiple supports in one, and I wouldn't even be surprised if she can be played like solo support for a double DPS break kind of things. If they are going down the angle in future and they still want to support the break meta, Fugue is likely going to be very relevant. But the question is, we have been having break for the longest time in the meta. It has already been how many patches? Almost 6 months since break is relevant. And moving forward, if you are trying to sell people the new stuff, likely we are mostly shifting towards new stuff that they are selling. But at the same time, I think Fugue is going to be anchored down in her role because Harmony MC might have to move on. It might be more efficient to move Harmony MC on to Remembrance later on as we get more characters. So long story short, future value I think is a clear win without doubt. I'm not even doubting myself right now. Future value goes 100% to Sunday. Everything about Sunday is just investing in the future. But the biggest question is, if he's so good in the future, why don't we just pull for his rerun and just let him be? And that is where the potential section comes in. What Hoyoverse tends to do and why is very interesting. Why he might even be worth picking up now, even though his meta hasn't been established yet. If you have watched this video, just a quick recap, we put this out a couple of months ago. You can check it on our channel. Change is coming. We talk about analyzing the history of power creep in Honkai Star Rail and how long meta takes to form. When it was the first innings, all the way until when it actually totally forms. And I won't give you a teaser and not tell you the answer, right? So a TLDR, if you want more in-depth guide, you can check it out. But a TLDR is the meta from beginning of a new meta all the way until it actually solidifies break and stuff. Takes about 6 to 8 months depending on the style. Some styles are much longer, some styles are around 6 months, about 6 months on average. There are a few exceptions, like Akirion just snap one character breaks the game, but as we mentioned in that video, the likelihood of that is not as high. 6 months from first innings all the way to the end, and we have already been seeing that if Sunday is coming out now, the first innings of summon characters probably is Lingsha or other summon units kind of thing, but Lingsha is the first abundance healer and all the relics that came about. So we can argue that we are roughly around maybe 3 to 6 weeks already into the whole summon meta shift, and Sunday is a critical character moving forward into this whole remembrance summon arc that we're going for. Knowing Hoyoverse, if they are trying to shift the meta slowly, we are going to see the peak of Sunday and peak of whole entire summon meta roughly around version 3.1, version 3.2. That's when the whole meta will probably solidify fully in place if we base on it on the trends that have been occurring in the past. So if you're thinking of pulling for Sunday's rerun, you must know that on average, when we do on our predictions video, and we have one already for 3.x on the channel, if you're interested, you can check it out. It might not be live depending on when this video is released, but Sunday is going to take on average, how many characters come a little bit earlier for their reruns, but on average, all characters come back in 6 months. If you're talking about 6 months from here, you're looking in the middle of June, which might be already 3.3, might be already towards the end of Panacony entirely, of Amphorius entirely, and by then, who knows, you might not have gained a lot of value. So I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of potential. Picking up Sunday now, when we are in the midst of a transition to solidify your future teams, is going to be really attractive. But this advice doesn't go for anyone, which I will talk about in a bit, especially in the free-to-play point of view, new player point of view. I assume that you guys are a neutral team. You are just comparing both of them before I go specifically to your accounts in the next section. So knowing that meta is going to shift, Fugue is playing into old meta. Now, we haven't dived too much into how fast power creep happens and how long old meta gets totally discarded. But this is a huge risk for any of you who are still building your break teams. Arguably, break has already been meta for a really long time. The question is, will Hoyoverse ditch it completely and switch over to another style? There are a lot of talk already. Now Erudition is being dripped with Herta. You have Summon and Remembrance maybe even being the same meta. And who knows, they might do move over to a different style, right? Because break has been popular for so long, they might go to over a HP decay, or they might go over to some sort of DOT meta. We did see a recent shift in Pure Fiction. So all of these are risks that break is addressing. You're playing into the school of the old, and it makes financial sense for them to slowly shift away to sell you other stuff so they can keep up their revenue, rather than just diving into break, ever since especially since Harmony MC is now moving on. So a key risk, I think, for you, my opinion here is Sunday tops out in terms of potential. It just makes a lot of sense that Sunday is also topping up here, and I would rate this category logically to be Sunday. However, this is where it turns. So now it's like the future value is like a complete storm for Sunday, but I don't think that is just the only thing that we need to consider. We have to keep it real here. At the end of the day, some of you players are new players. Some of you are free-to-play players. You don't have tons of resources to pick up back-to-back like Remembrance characters. Some of you might be on your way to even complete your break teams. You are trying to even progress through the Memory of Chaos, your Apocalyptic Shadow, and you just don't have the resources to keep pulling. Between these two characters, Sunday right now, in the game state, you have no one to buff. So unless you are a Jingyuan puller, but if you're a newer player, you might not have picked Jingyuan up at all, and Topaz and Nambi and together with Sunday might not be able to carry your entire account entirely. So you're banking on the fact of Hopium, of Remembrance being enough to carry your account, which it could, which it might, but it does take a bit more resources to pick up these other characters, especially since we haven't had a limited banner. So will you be pulling for a standard Aglia banner? Probably not. So in the next 12 weeks, Sunday is just going to be, you're just waiting. All right, 12 weeks, let's go. Maybe hopefully in 3.1, 12 weeks later, I will start to see some value. And for a free-to-play point of view, you could have gotten a lot more resources if you have completed your team compositions, you have finalized it, and then you take your Harmony MC, you convert it over to Remembrance, and that is like your hedge into Remembrance into your early days. So if I were a free-to-play player, logically comparing, it will offer a lot more value to pick up Fugue right now to complete break. If you already have like Firefly, you already have Himiko, for example. Himiko is very solid as well, and you're getting her for free. We talked about like who to pick in the standard tickets as well on the channel. Himiko together with like Hami MC, together with like Fugue, or even Ranmei if you have Ranmei, already feels very, very nicely your team compositions, and is something that you can even for complete in 2.7 to help you solidify your break teams already straight on. So if you're a newer player, break is very cheap to get. You just need like one limited 5-star and you're more or less like good to go. You can just play with like E6 Gallagher in the last slot. So super, super attractive. It's like something like this, Himiko here, together is like slap on Gallagher and like Harmony MC, and then you have a character like Ranmei. You don't even have to worry about Harmony MC switching over yet. You can switch over anytime and you can switch back. When you are ready to switch, go ahead. If one half is favoring break, then go to Harmony MC. If one half is favoring Remembrance, you can have a switch later on, and your relics will just remain, right? So you can just easily switch back and forth. I think for free-to-play, that is a solid alternative as well. It's going to be very cheaper to get going. Sunday, on the other hand, if you're a free-to-play player, Sunday is a lot more expensive to go because you have to get him, you have to get the next future summon character, and you have to get whatever else like summon related that they throw you. So your path of spending is like already fixed. If suddenly you like Castares, maybe you like Maide because he has like fire tattoos and stuff like that, and they are not fitting the summon meta, then you're in a bit of an iffy situation where you pull on a character that's really good for the long run, but you might not have the resources to support that long run yet. And I think that's one of the major things about Sunday that people tend to forget. A lot of people just think that, oh, you are a very late game player or you have like enough resources to pull for the entire summon meta. But for free-to-play players, it's a little bit trickier. In terms of this category, I think because of how cheap break teams are, given that we also get a free Himiko, I will have to give it to Fugue to be slightly much more advantageous for free-to-play players right now in the game state. Sunday, on the other hand, if you look at the next 6 months, it's going to be a lot of pooling, and not all of us have 400, 300 pools saved up. Maybe some of us didn't save up at all, and we are just scrambling for resources. We get more time to save for Fugue because she's in the second half, and there's also more visibility in the second half because we know what is 3.0, what exactly Herta does. And for example, if you want to pull Herta, and Herta has nothing to do with summons, then your Sunday is just chilling for another 6 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, and that is one of the major problems. Now at this state, my own personal bias, I always promise you at the end, right at the end of the video, I'll give you my own personal thoughts, and it's a very tough one. To be honest, this is one of the hardest patches I've seen so far, and it's a choice of how long do you believe in the future and how much resources you have, and what is your account state. So everyone's account is different. For me personally, I have resources to pull for the summon meta, so I will be going for Sunday, and Sunday is like way on top. Fugue, on the other hand, is playing into break teams, which is nice to have, but I have Ranmei already, so I'm not too afraid of that. I can switch Harmony and Remembrance MC back and forth, so Fugue is of a lower priority for me. But then again, it's not the same for everyone. Not everyone has the resources to pull for Sunday, and I would advise you to look at your account. What are your priorities? Do you really like summon, or are you hedging in fear of FOMO because the meta is going to come and then you are left behind because you don't have anything? Remembrance MC is going to be a tiny hedge for you into the Remembrance meta. And you know, if Sunday is like freaking meta, they are going to sell him sooner than later. He will come back probably as fast as Robin, who was like 5 patches, right? That's like super fast. So maybe you get him like 4 months in the middle of like 3.2, because if a character sells well, they want to milk him as much as they can, and you can always pick him up in a rerun once the whole Remembrance meta has stabilized, once his team compositions have finalized, and then your path of progress is much clearer. And that will be my honest recommendation, because again, resources are not infinite. And if you found this video helpful, you like the way we present and this kind of content, we do this every single patch since the start of Honkai Star Rail. Like, comment, and subscribe for more such future content, and check out these 2 other videos we have on our channel. Thank you again so much for watching, your attention. See you next video.